Welcome to Notes to My Legal Self. The future belongs to builders. Together, we explore topics of interest to legal innovators. Know someone who'd make a great guest? Let us know. Self-nominations are encouraged. They're an act of courage. Want to get the most from this conversation? Ask questions, comment, like, follow, say hello. In short, engage. Lastly, have fun. Shaping the future of law requires significant effort, but finding joy in the process is essential. Let's begin. Here's your host, Olga Mack.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Notes to My Legal Self. I am really excited to have this conversation today. I've been exploring what you can do with a law degree now for a few jobs, actually. And the funny thing is, I was not an unhappy lawyer. I was actually an incredibly happy lawyer. And it took some acts of God to drag me on the other side. Actually, the main side for most people, the business side. And I didn't run there out of unhappiness, and I didn't run there after first 5 or 3 years out of law school. I was just a kid in a candy store exploring what's possible. And it turns out there's life outside of law. And there's life outside of law that I can actually enjoy as a happy lawyer, which I found incredible, and still exploring the nooks and crannies of that world. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with the two people who are actively innovating in this area and actively thinking about what else can you do with your law degree so you can be a productive and impactful and happy member of the society. So, without further ado, Kim and Neil, welcome to the Nose to My Legal Self. So excited to have this conversation.
Thank
Kim,
you.
please introduce yourself.
Hi there. Thank you so much, Olga, for having us. I'm Kimberly Fine, and I'm a co-founder with S Judicata, bringing about 30 plus years of experience in the legal industry, including a stint with American Lawyer.
I love it. And Neil, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Neil Handwerker. And first of all, thank you, Olga, for having us. I'm Neil Handwerker, CEO and co-founder of Ex Judicata. This is the second startup that we've had, Kimberly and myself. So we're very excited to reunite, actually, for this project.
I love it. Nothing like a professionally reunion. So how did you, let me ask you this. What did you do before Ex Judicata?
I was a legal headhunter for about 15 years, and I don't know if you know much about legal headhunting, but at some point you hit the wall, Olga. It's not an easy way to make a living, and I thought, let me think about what else may be out there. What else can I do with my background?
What about you, Kim?
I've always been in executive education, creating CLE, CME, CPE courses with executives such as yourself, then also doing quite a lot of work in the board of directors and governance space. So content for executives basically sums up my career.
I love it. And so what happened? How did you decide, one, it's a reunion worth repeating, and two, in this area?
Well, it's a really nice story. Kim and I, with that first startup, we grew that from 1995 to 2000, and we sold that startup. And life takes you in different directions. Kim went one direction, I went in another, and we'd speak with each other periodically over the course of years. But I would say, Kim, probably we hadn't spoken in maybe 5 years or so. And what makes this really interesting is I had sent Kim an email, and I never heard back. And people always get an email. So it actually turned out that I called Kim and she hadn't gotten the email. And she was very surprised and pleased to hear from me. And then we started to talk about Ex Judicata, or what would become the idea of Ex Judicata.
I love it. Kim, what happened to that email? And why did you strategically not answer it? Did you want to hear his voice?
I know the secret's out, right? No, I mean, I was thrilled to hear from Neil. And when he shared the idea of Ex Judicata with me, it took me about a whole 15 minutes of research to say, all right, I'm going to put everything else aside and, jump into this full force. And we really are going with passion and purpose.
Okay, now, Neil, I don't know whatever you said, that it took her 15 minutes to say yes to do a life-changing trajectory. What did you say that was so profound?
I don't know, it was something like, stick with me for about a year and we'll make $100 million. Something
Was it that
No,
or was it
that's
something
no,
else?
nothing like that. I just sort of prefaced it by saying over the course of the last X number of years, I've had many different ideas for different businesses, and this was the only one that I felt was good enough to approach my former partner with to see if she wanted to get back together with me. Because if she did not want to do this, I never would have done it. There's no way I could do this by myself. Kim brings her own skill set, and it's tremendous. And it's just very fortunate that we're able to get back together.
I mean, at that point, and this is special, right? Returning to someone is actually pretty special because you have a full disclosure. You already work together.
That's
You
that's
already know all the annoying things
that's
about each other.
you're right. You're right. We know all the. You're right. Yeah.
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 But we do balance each other out very, very much so, like a yin and a yang. And I think that's part of the magic.
I love it.
Absolutely.
So, what it is that you discussed doing and what it is that you're doing today?
Well, what I had suggested to Kim is that we look hard at lawyers that no longer want to practice law. What resources are out there for them? And could we, in fact, find a path if we discovered that not that much had changed all these years? There have been unhappy lawyers, but there really haven't been viable, I don't want to say exit strategies, but paths for lawyers to take. So usually, if you ask like 100 lawyers who are in business how they got there, you'd get kind of 100 different answers. So the thinking was, is there some way of creating a defined path for people that are interested in leaving the practice of law so that it isn't so happenstance? And that's what Kim and I started to talk about.
And why? Why solve that? I mean, there are many things that you could be solving in law, legal profession, legal education, career paths, you name it. Why that?
So Neil and I come to this together, but from different motivations, if you will. And Neil is a JD that pivoted. And so he understands that there were not resources for him at that time. And he wanted to create a destination where we could bring all these resources to life. I've had the privilege of working extensively with Patrick Krill. Patrick and I did the first live event around substance use disorder, suicide ideation, anxiety, and depression in the legal industry. So in working with Patrick, I had an inside glimpse into some of the real pressures and, what a gift to have an alternative career path if you so choose. And that was part of my motivation to come into this, to create a path forward for individuals that have incredible legal experience and this wonderful degree called a JD.
Yeah. So my observations in law is that it's basically a swim lane and you can go kind of up or out of the pool. And what I've observed my colleagues in other departments, whether it's in government departments or corporate departments or even law firms, is that they have options. Meaning, if you're at a company and you are a sales professional, there's a chance at some point you will be a marketing professional or a business development professional or even an IT professional or customer support professional. You don't always have to sort of become more senior. You could, that's an option, but you can just kind of move around. This lane is not so good. I can learn some more there. Or people over there are nicer. I'll go swim in that lane. You
That's
have those options. For lawyers, it's like you find yourself in the lane and you look at the lane, you're like, I don't like the people, don't like the work, or want to do something different. And really, your other option is to leave the pool. Why is that?
Well, I think that it's really the least self-reflective profession. Lawyers really don't have a chance or don't give themselves a chance to take a step back and actually think about their job. Are they enjoying it? Are they really doing what they want to do? I think a lot of attorneys don't give themselves that opening. And as a result, they keep hitting, if it use that analogy of the swim lanes, there's people in front of you, people behind you, and you just keep swimming. And you can't get out of the pool because you're just in the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there something about lawyers or is it something about societal expectations? I don't know. Which one is it? I really struggle with that question.
Well, I think also too, if you look, you want to maybe bifurcate corporate legal and law firm, because the law firm structure, and not speaking out of school here, but the law firm structure, the paradigm is you're in this practice group and maybe you collaborate with another practice group, but this is your area of expertise, right? So it's a very different kind of structure than a corporate business entrepreneurial structure. So that's, the paradigm is part of the swim lanes, I believe.
Okay. So then to some extent it starts early. It starts in law school, right? Or where does it all start? Where do we start swimming in the swim lanes?
That's, I think you just said it all. I think it starts in law school. You get on a certain path. You're working hard, and your expectation, your assumption, or your family's assumption is that, well, of course you're going to be a lawyer because you're going to have to pay back all these loans. And don't you want to be a lawyer, even if you really haven't thought about why you might want to be a lawyer? So you take that first job, and then that first job, you're there 2, 3, 4 years. And you wake up one day and realize, oh my God, I'm here 4 years. What am I going to do now? And there was a statistic, the start of January 2023, Bureau of Labor Standards, lawyers, the least unhappy workers in America. That was pretty powerful. And we use that as further motivation, like we have to do something.
I got it. And yet, if you went to law school, law schools have a pressure of reporting statistics around employment. And they have been, what I've observed, even when I went to law school, some of my friends did not get a job in OCI, and they got very open-minded conversations about what else you can do with a law degree. It's not your first pass, but it was an active conversation around it. What is your experience in selling and streamlining this idea that there are other things you can do with your law degree, and in fact, law school can prepare you to do them better? What are your experiences with talking to law schools?
Absolutely. So starting right at the ground floor, I've been in touch with all of the ABA accredited law schools. I'm very proud to share that 35 of the law schools have onboarded ex judicata as a resource for their students that might want to consider an alternative career path. But in working with the law schools, what we've done is we have tagged a number of our jobs JD Advantage. So when they're reporting their placement metrics to the American Bar Association, if it's a JD Advantage position, that counts for their placement metrics. So I'm starting with the law schools.
I love it. Tell me, I'm a little new. I'm not new to law, and I'm certainly not new to finding job as a lawyer or somebody who uses her legal training to get stuff done. But I am new to this term of law advantage and the few other terms you mentioned. Well, tell me what that
So
means.
people do use them interchangeably. JD Advantage, JD Preferred, and JD Adjacent. And technically they're all very similar. The term of art for the law schools are JD Advantage. There was a study with the Law School Association and with NALP, and it literally identified about 300 titles that count as JD Advantage titles. So we went through that study line by line by line and used those titles to tag the jobs in our job board that would be JD Advantage.
So what are the examples? I mean, first of all, is it the ABA set standard, or is it now? Like who decides? Like who's playing the role of gods here? And what are the examples of that?
It's the American Association of Law Schools. And we recently actually just interviewed their incoming CEO, Kelly Tresty, who's absolutely fantastic. And it's the ABA and it's NALP. These are the individuals that were involved in this particular report.
And what are examples of those jobs? And are they sort of evaluated every year? Is there a committee of people who gets together? Is that looking at the job description? Is it the title? Like, how does this work?
It's the use of the JD skill set, but some examples would be things that, such as compliance, investigative services, public policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion, different positions within human resources. I mean, if you think about it, it's where the practice area, if you've worked or some of the training that you've had, will align with that particular business area.
Okay. It sounds like every job I've had at a startup when I had to moonlight when they didn't have enough resources to hire, they're like, oh, yeah, Olga can do it. We have a diversity
100%.
question. It's
Yeah.
an Olga question. We
The
have
power of the
a
JD skill set.
Yeah, it's Olga question. It's a D&I question. It's Olga's question. It's an HR issue. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's Olga question. Okay. It's basically everything that is legal when you don't want to hire another professional. And it makes sense, I guess. And so is that identified by title, or is through, do you also have, there's sort of a second part where you have to take a look at the job description to assess that it sort of really fits into that category?
We have them tagged. So somebody can search on the job board, which is only one part of our platform. Our platform is incredibly rich in content and education, but they can literally check a box that says JD Advantage while they're searching their other jobs. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So it sounds like law schools are pretty excited about this platform and placing their graduates into JD Advantage jobs, partially because they can report it, and partially because they can have folks who have attended law schools and actually can use their law degrees. And it sounds like they're pretty open-minded.
Yes, and Kim had mentioned Kelly Testi a little while ago of the Association of American Law Schools, who people think is probably the most influential person in legal education. She gave us a quote that we use all the time now, and that is, a JD is a degree in complex problem solving. And if there's anything the world needs, it's complex problem solvers. So you were talking about give it to Olga, give it to Olga. Yeah, Olga can solve complex problems, basically.
I may change my LinkedIn headline. I love that. Really cool. Okay, let's talk about, the other side of law. Let's talk about law firms. What is their reaction? Well, how are they thinking about this alternative? Are you partnering with law firms? Are they encouraging their lawyers to discover the other sides? What's going on there?
So I'm going to start and then I'll pass it to Neil. One of the things we did have to work through is to really ensure the individuals that we were speaking with at the firms, we are not trying to recruit lawyers away from law firms. We are not trying to, steal their talent, if you will. What we are trying to do is to offer an alternative career path for the lawyers that have expressed to career services that they would like to make a pivot. Now, Neil and I have talked to hundreds of attorneys, and oftentimes they may say, I'm going to go to a different firm. I'm going to go in-house. I'm going to try practicing law in a different way. The other percentage that we'll speak to is really ready for a pivot. And the business case is so clear. If the firm supports the individual in their transition to a non-legal job, that person now can be funneled back into the alumni program and drive revenue to the firm. If they go to another law firm, they could be co-counsels on something, but for the most part, they're probably not going to drive revenue back to the firm. So this way you keep it all in the family. So what we found, and I'll let Neil pick it up from here, is some of the very innovative firms actually have internal outplacement services that are excited to begin to work with us. So
internal outplacement service. Okay, that sounds like an oxymoron. I would like to learn more about it. Neil, you're up.
Several of the large firms have that. One of the things that we discovered in talking to the law firms is an economic value to what we're doing, in the sense of let's say they take an associate who has expressed interest in doing something else, and but the associate's been really a good lawyer for the firm. They don't want to just push the person out the door, but they know the person is looking, doesn't know what to do. So if we get involved earlier, we can help that associate find something else rather than be sitting at his or her desk for 7 or 8 months without any idea of how to get out, how to do something else. So the firms welcome us as really a new pathway for everybody.
So a few times you mentioned this term unhappy. And I've certainly met a lot of unhappy lawyers who exited, and they tend to actually exit pretty early. Like, in the first, I would say, year, definitely within 3, and if you're in a slower learning curve, within 5, in various denials and pressures. That law, it's a specific discipline. It's not for everyone. It does require to be a certain type of person, at least depending on what you do. And so there is a group of people who leave because of unhappiness. Do you find that is all the folks who exit are unhappy? Because I meet a lot of happy people who exit for various reasons as well.
Mhm.
It's also lots of times for a change, a life change. One gentleman I was speaking to, his wife was pregnant, and she said, "All right, that's it. It's time to get a different type of a position where you'll be around. You'll be around, basically." So that was for a really happy reason that he changed. And a lot of the people we talk to love the law. They just are either at a different stage in their life, or they really want to make a change and pursue a passion or a purpose.
Yeah, that wife has some leverage. And whatever she's doing, I want to learn more about it, because if she can inspire her husband to change
That's
his career, she's definitely knows a thing or two about leverage.
that's
So
right.
when you say you see unhappy lawyers, like, tell me, what are they unhappy about, and what are the options available to them?
Well, one thing, the pandemic affected lawyers in a couple of ways. Lawyers were home for the first time, having dinner with their family who never really did that before. And that put in the back of their mind, you know what, maybe there is something more important than becoming an expert at UCC or whatever it may be. The other thing that the pandemic did is it unfortunately reinforced what already is a culture of isolation in law firms, where basically a partner will pass on a matter to a senior associate who'll give it to a mid-level, who'll give it to a junior. And rarely, if ever, does everyone gather in the same room to talk about a mission, sense of purpose. What happens in corporate America every day is really unusual in the law. So it's really what I call a culture of isolation.
Yeah. There is that. I mean, I mean, legal teams are almost never overstaffed, and you are sort of misunderstood. You're doing things that nobody else can do, and it's perfect for those who happen to like spend time with themselves. I happen to really value that time. That's actually one of the appeals of law, is that you can accomplish quite a lot of things. Um, do you see that there are any other reasons why lawyers are either unhappy or would choose to exit the profession?
Sure. Well, American Lawyer just came out with their report, and I actually have one of the charts up here about negative impacts on the mental health. And things have improved. Things definitely have improved. But the billable hour and always being on call are really the top two, according to American Lawyer, reasons. And if you think about it, when you're pivoting to another culture, you may be working as just as hard, if not harder, but you're working differently and you're working in a different culture, right? So I think that's a big, well, I don't even have to think. I mean, I have the report right in front of me. It's the number one reason.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I have a conversation about the billable hour, and it's almost never positive. I wonder, maybe we should be inspired to do something about it. So you see a lot of lawyers happy or unhappy, seeking change, whether because their wife has leverage, and they're happy because of that, or because the billable hour is pushing them out of the door, or because they're isolated. As I said, I personally have witnessed something else, is that law just runs out of options to
Mhm.
satisfy somebody who is highly skilled, likes to be challenged, enjoys learning, and at some point, there's just a lot more learning on the other side of law, meaning on the business side, as opposed to being doing illegal stuff. I'm just curious, what do you see those lawyers when they come to you and they ask you, now what's available? How do I get ready for those opportunities? How do I network? What are the opportunities? What's available? Like, what are the options? What's in the buffet?
So there's a very large buffet, but where we will often suggest a user begins their journey with ex judicata is our EXJ career match diagnostic. We built this with a team of PhDs in organizational behavior and analytics. It is a diagnostic that will take them 20 to 30 minutes, and the output is a match, a probability of success in 5 non-legal areas. So that's a wonderful place to start. And a lot of times the people that take the diagnostic are pleased and surprised by the output.
I love that. So it will help you focus in the area of the book. Okay, are you a dessert person, or are you more of a carnivore, or are you more of a pasta person, or do you like seafood type of experience? Okay, that's great. And then, so what are the options? Like, what's available? Like, what are the 300 examples of the advantage that lawyers, depending on their training, could be focusing in that buffet?
Well, there's the traditional law adjacent programs that you were talking about before, but we look at it as really expansive beyond that. And that is, we're talking about lawyers getting involved in positions in marketing, sales, business development, investor relations, things that the law degree will be very helpful in, but generally it's not part of the job description. Brand manager is another one, product manager. Again, it's a very smart person that can do a lot of different things.
Okay, okay. I like that. And so that, okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
I was
Kim.
going to say, to pick up on what Neil has said, is we present a complimentary series entitled If I Leave the Law. In June, we have If I Leave the Law, landing a job in communications, journalism, marketing, public relations, and crisis management. And in July, we're presenting If I Leave the Law, pivoting to a successful career in sales. And we have absolutely wonderful speakers lined up that are all JDs that have pivoted. They're on our website, they're complimentary, and each one of these events offers, numerous possibilities of non-legal careers that you're able to use your JD and lean into.
I love that. This is great. So they take a test. They are now focused on the part of the buffet that could be a fit. And then now what? What happens after that?
So it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure, but once they have the output from the EXJ diagnostic, we do have a coach's corner. So if they need help redoing their resume or their LinkedIn, or they'd like some strategic coaching, they can go to our coach's corner, and each coach has graciously agreed to offer 30 minutes complimentary. So that's one direction they can go in. Another direction is they could go straight to our job board and register as a job seeker and start perusing the over 1,100 jobs that we have listed. And a third direction they might take is to join the talent network totally free of charge. This way, if an employer is seeking, for example, an IP attorney for an entertainment position, they can go into the talent network, review the profiles, and reach out to an individual whose background might match the job that they're looking for.
Interesting. Well, we are coming to the end, and I love the richness of these conversations and sort of the reactions of law schools and law firms and people who are coming to you, the problem you're solving, and the tools you're giving to them available, and the sort of options available for them to choose how to proceed next. What do you find sort of a common path? You now know which part of a buffet you may like. You have the ability to talk to coaches, to look at jobs, to maybe upskill. What is sort of the most common path? What do you see people do that you wouldn't know unless you operate this platform?
Kim, I think you were going to say something. If
You guys are too polite. Kim, go for it.
Absolutely. We're building a community, and they really can take their own path, and we really are here to support everyone in the direction that they would like to take and how they'd like to leverage their law degree. So whether it's starting with the diagnostic and going to the coaches or going to the job board, that's all terrific. But in light of building a community, what we're also doing, because we're a startup and fundraising as part of being a startup, is we've just gone live on WeFunder, so that everyone in our community for as little as $100 can get involved with equity investments through WeFunder, and we can be found on their website. So I just wanted to share that with everyone before we signed off.
Oh, I love this. This is great. Absolutely. And by the way, This is not an investment advice or tax advice, and God forbid legal advice, because none of us are licensed or able to give advice in that area. However, supporting missions that you like and if you enjoy the platform is absolutely makes sense, and gives you perks and gives you an opportunity to be part of the community and put your money where your mind is and where your values are. And it's absolutely a great way to support a cause that you care about. So definitely check out the We Founder campaign, but do understand that none of this is an investment tax or legal advice. With that in mind, are you hoping that folks on your platform are even more involved in the mission and values of the company?
Oh, absolutely. If we have 9 coaches now, I mean, we'd love to have 90. We think there's that much need or want out in the community. We have a couple of courses. Hopefully, we'll get up to 10, then 20. Job board, 1,100 jobs. Next, 5,000, 10,000. If we just keep at it. And the bottom line is, the more we keep at it, the more people that we're helping, and that really brings us a lot of satisfaction. Because you really change somebody's job, you many times can change a lot of their life.
I love that. If you change somebody's job, you will change their lives. Absolutely. We spend so much time at work that even little tweaks will affect their well-being, their outlook on life, their happiness, their joy, and it's absolutely a thing worth doing. I'm curious. You have a lot of job seekers and people who want to pivot for whatever reason. Do you have employers on the platform, and why are they excited to hire lawyers in the non-traditionally legal careers?
Well, there's been for the longest time a hiring shortage in corporate America. Good people can't be found fast enough. So what we found is, as we started to network our idea with CHROs and other talent executives about an entirely new pool of candidates qualified to do an awful lot of different things. And the ones that are most progressive, the most enlightened companies are picking up on this. And they're the ones that are giving us the jobs more so than the ones that are still stuck in, well, not stuck, but they just look at it as more traditional. Lawyers can only do compliance or maybe a couple of other things. And we're really talking to the talent people about hiring lawyers for everything: marketing, sales, business development.
Let's talk about those enlightened other professionals who want to surround themselves by folks with, with a law degree. What are the characteristics? Why would they want this in their lives? What's in it for them?
Well, again, it's they have the chance to get at a pool of candidates that they really didn't think existed before. I mean, we may sound trite, but we call it sort of the hidden talent pool in plain sight. Lawyers are there.
Hidden talent pool in plain sight. I love it. Kim, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? How do other business professionals, and why do they get enlightened? How do they get up in the morning and say, lawyers are valuable. I've been missing out on life. They can do more than just one thing. I need them in my life to help me solve my problems. What happens there?
Well, I think what happens is they see a case study where something's incredibly successful. So one part of our business we did not speak about is bespoke search for a newly created non-legal position with a business, with a financial institution, where they've seen success of bringing lawyers into non-legal positions because of their skill set in risk assessment, issue spotting, negotiation, obviously the communication, the written, excellence that a lawyer will bring to the table. So, once you see success, I mean, what do they say, right? Success breeds success. So it's really by case example, I think, is what's happening, or that's what we've seen happening.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's actually true in practice. Once a business professional has a positive experience with a lawyer, I joke they may not have imagined Olga in their life, but now they cannot imagine their life without Olga. And I think, and it really just become helping them imagine. It's an imagination problem, really. So a case study or a conversation or a positive experience, really, ultimately a positive experience,
Mhm.
helps them to get to that conclusion.
Mhm.
I really love this conversation. Neil and Kim, we can talk all day. I love that you're solving this problem. It's clearly something that folks care about. And we have Mary who joined and said this was a good seminar. I'm guessing it's a really good seminar because it's an important problem and because you're given actionable insights. What can we as legal professionals do to be happier, to use our skills to contribute to this world in the positive ways? So, what I would like for you to do is, as part of your goodbye, is to maybe give a tip or an actionable insight or thing that I cannot Google or find on my own. If I'm thinking of pivoting, what is the one thing that would be helpful for me to do to really start exploring all the rich options I have that I can do with my law degree and ultimately do a good pivot? Where would you start or what would you do? What is a ninja tip here?
Well, of course, you start by coming to Ex Judicata. We have something called the Ex Judicata interview, which are close to 40 personal stories of JDs that have pivoted, why and how, and where they are now, and what they're doing with that. And it's everything from running a bakery to an axe manufacturing company to the more traditional investment banking or senior HR roles.
I love it. So read more stories. You get imagination working when you get inspired through examples of others. I love this. What about you, Neil? What is your one tip for folks who are thinking about this?
I think it's really soul searching within yourself. It's very easy for outsiders to tell you, and it happens all the time. How can you leave the practice of law? You're making this amount of money. Have you lost your mind? That's kind of what a lot of people think. And you just have to get past the naysayers. And unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of naysayers. I mean, hopefully we're changing that as we all build this site and other places. But that's kind of what I would say. Listen to yourself.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to help them understand that the mind has been lost a long time ago when you made a decision to go to law school. So from there forward, it only gets better. I love it. Those are great tips. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm really glad you're solving this problem. I'm really excited that you're involving community in solving this problem, and folks could be part of your mission by joining on WeFounder. Again, not an investment advice, but if you want to learn more, you have an opportunity to do this, to engage with Ex Judicata in many ways through the case studies, through investment, through participation, through meeting their coaches, all kinds of way. I'm really grateful that you're solving this important problem. So folks do not have to be alone solving it. So thank you so much for joining. And thank you, audience, for participating and being part of this conversation. And see you next time. Bye bye.
For stopping by. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Notes to My Legal Self. The future belongs to builders. Know someone who'd make a great guest? Let us know. Self-nominations are encouraged. They're an act of courage. Keep in mind, the future of law is all lit up. Let's roll up our sleeves, innovate, build, and change the world of law together. See you soon.